Yo, good morning, everyone. I wonder if anyone's ever gonna show up in this one. Not the usual time, not at all. But given I didn't have time yesterday, I thought I'd do it this morning. Probably too early for the Americans, and the Europeans are probably at work. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, we'll have some fun with the 5 people that will show up. Foxy, Donos, and Thomas already there. I mean, there's a few people that say good morning. I mean, it's nice. New crowd of people, maybe even. Good morning from Singapore. So glad I can finally join live. I mean, welcome, man. Maybe I should switch it up more often. Volume is very low. Volume is always low, my friend. Wait, let me sit properly. Maybe that will fix it. Because I'm sitting like a moron on my chair. Good morning from Australia. Good morning, man. I mean, it's not morning for you anymore, is it? When you mic, dude, I have like a really stacked mic. I'm just too lazy to set it up properly. That's my fault. But also, I mean, what do you expect? I'm a duck on the internet. Have you ever seen a duck work on the settings of a microphone? I don't think so. Should be impressed that a duck is already recording something like this. And, this time is really low. Okay, let me check. No, it's the same as always. Sorry, brother. Maybe one day I'll fix it. Volume is low on the charts or the mic? On the charts, most definitely. But yeah, before we start the show, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring it. They also have, like, it's an exchange, obviously, but they also have a decentralized exchange that we're gonna talk about in the coming weeks, whatever, which is quite cool. But yeah, I thought I'd just mention it. Coming next week, I think we're gonna start promoting that instead of the normal exchange. So yeah. First time with a stream at this time of the day? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I used to stream at all times of the day before, but yeah. Nowadays it used to be more organized. Not anymore. Now that I have wife and child and everything, it's a little bit more complicated, but we'll still manage. Anyway, let's start, shall we? High time frame, still good. Monthly looks good. Weekly time frame, that's where like we closed last week not nicely. Could have gone better. Was very close. We had that washout candle and went down here, hit support, bounced, but didn't quite manage to close back above, which is why now we have like resistance in the 98Ks, and that's something that we've seen kind of like push price down, which is not great, but it's also not terrible, right? Like, technically speaking, this is a very tight range, and ranging in here after a move like this, it's not super bearish, right? It's kind of like what we had here. Just generally ranges during like up moves, not the end of the world, but yeah, people get freaked out because sometimes you, like, especially in 2021, we've had like ranges that led to tops, but generally speaking, when we top, it's usually like this. Like when we actually top, right? And in this instance, it's been up and to the side. So like people being super bearish don't really have any historical backing on that. Not that it really matters, right? But just generally, it's just looking at this, not that bad of a chart. People are just freaking out because of their altcoins, I think. Like the bearishness is mainly altcoins. But this weekly close obviously started getting people a little bit more freaked out, like loss of the middle of the range now opens up the revisit of the range low, and then people are freaked. which is understandable, especially if you're down 80-90% on your altcoins and you're like, I'm down 80% on altcoins and Bitcoin didn't move. What happens if Bitcoin goes down? And the cool thing is we've had similar situations before, and Bitcoin going down doesn't necessarily have to lead to altcoins completely dying. But if this is the top of the cycle, then that might happen. So yeah, a lot of fear in the market. I don't think I've seen this much people be like so desperate and so fearful since 2022 down here at 16K. I think the sentiment around the crypto market from people on crypto Twitter, which is also obviously a big caveat because crypto Twitter is a little bit of a different crowd than the normal crypto crowd. But I've not seen people be this nervous, this like just sad about the market since 2022 in the end of it at 60K. Excuse me. Don't I literally have less money now than I did at the bottom of the bear market? Yeah, I think that's a large reason why people are just like, fuck this. But I mean, there's a reason why people, or like why I keep saying like, hey, like just have have a proper position in something like Bitcoin or maybe even ETH. Like if you held ETH, everyone was making fun of ETH, but ETH's still up from the bottom of the bear market. It's still up like 200%, so 3x. That's obviously not great in comparison to Bitcoin, which is up like significantly more. But yeah, can't just hold dog shit. Gotta hold some good stuff if you're bullish. I've not been on Twitter in months. The sentiment that bad? Yeah. I mean, people are literally like portfolio all-time lows now, which is kind of sad to see with Bitcoin at all-time highs. Hat stays on. The hat's never been on, man. The hat's never been on. Even when with what's going down, there was up. There was no hat. It's all illusion. But yeah, that's the weekly time frame. I generally think you reclaim the mid-range. We start mooning hard. It's just it has to do it. And it'd be cool if it did it this weekend. But yeah, I'm not holding my breath for it. Generally, it's a range lows here, range highs here. Like if you get a trade around range low, I think that's going to be pretty nice. And the range midpoint is here. And then you can just trade around the range if you're not bullish or bearish. Like if you're bearish, you have a trade set up here somewhat, like a close above the mid-range would invalidate you. Like let's say you're bear, you could trade from mid-range to bottom of the range or even hope for like a washout below the range. If you're bull, you can either hope for a test of the bottom of the range or a reclaim. Like let's say this tests it and then goes down, then you would have like a reclaim setup. Like let's say this comes back up. You could then kind of have like a stop loss down here. You reclaimed the range, you're targeting either range high or just a breakout. Or you just buy the range low, hope that holds, trade it into the mid-range, or like if you're even more bullish, higher. Like there's a few plays that you can make in a range like this. I generally am not the biggest fan of range trading. I find it quite boring. So if I'm bullish, I'd look for buys around the bottom of the range, and then hold it through the range, which we've tested like twice, 3 times, depending on how you look at it. And if I'm bearish, I'd kind of like try to short either the mid-range or the top of the range. I don't really like trade around the range too much, but there's a lot of setups that you could take. It's just, I think it's getting more and more tight, and a breakout is more and more likely with every day that passes, especially with the headlines that we've been having. What if bears are right and we go max down, then we go max down? I mean, from my perspective, right, and I know this is not necessarily everyone's perspective, but from my perspective, I mean, I bought Bitcoin at 16K. I've been taking profit the entire way up. I have a bunch of money in the market left, but I'm quite happy with this with the cycle, right? Like if it goes and breaks out, which I think it will, like I think we're gonna go a little bit higher than where we are right now, then that's gonna be the cherry on top. But it's not like I'm like this is what I need to happen for the cycle to be nice. Like this cycle has already been insane. Like Bitcoin 16K to 100K. We've had like XRP go infinite. Solana went crazy. There were like a bunch of good trades in the middle. So like from my perspective, I'm quite happy with everything. And if the bears are right, then I get like a really nice rebuying spot lower at some point. But I don't necessarily think the bears are right, but we'll see. But max down is like 63K. I don't think that's max down. I think max down is like, I think big time frame with where we are right now. If we break down, like max down is like 40-ish. Like I think anywhere, like somewhere here would be max down. I don't think we would go lower than 40. But 40, I think possible. Like 30, 40, wouldn't be crazy to me. Like that's like, even if we go low 30, that's a 72% pullback. I think like, I mean, this was 78, this was 84. So I'd say like, I mean, you can see like when you go on charts with more history, let me pull one up. So back here, this was like an 88% pullback. This was 84-ish. This one was 78. This is fucking cursed. This needs to go. And this one, I think like if you get another one, like if this is the top, I think wherever this tops, I think it's gonna pull back like 70%-ish. And if that was the top, like that would pull us back towards like low 30s. Trump would never allow 40K Bitcoin, right? I mean, Trump would allow whatever. It's not like people always think like the president is responsible for everything. I mean, they are for a lot, especially when they make erratic decisions, right? Like for example, like with Biden, right? He didn't really do anything. Like the guy was just sitting there sleeping, right? So nothing's really his fault, but nothing's also like really like you cannot really give much credit to him either, because he just let everything run, and then his team did everything. And I mean, that's fine and dandy, but like there's not really like people were blaming him for everything, and I'm just kind of like, I mean, the world is just in a state right now where this is just how it is. And then with Trump right now, I mean, he's doing a lot of erratic things, so more things are his fault, but also you can also give him more credit, right? So when something that he does actually does work out, which we've yet to see if any of that will actually work out, then you can give him credit. Whereas with Biden, it's really hard to give him credit. But also like with, like, for example, the tariff stuff, if that doesn't work out, it's also like that is the direct fault of the president. So like, just generally people overestimate how much impact that has, though, in my opinion. Like the world economy is really big, and it's not just the president that moves everything. So like, what is Trump gonna do? Like Bitcoin crashes and he's gonna be like, this is not allowed, we're gonna buy up every single Bitcoin? No. Like if crypto goes down significantly, if anything, I think Trump is gonna distance himself from it. Like I said, I don't think it's gonna go necessarily anytime soon, but I think if it goes down, I don't think Trump would want the negative press associated with it, so he'd just ignore it. You don't think Bitcoin has matured with the ETFs, so there won't be such violent corrections like the rest of crypto still experiences? I would have thought so, but I mean, we've seen like just markets be completely erratic, just generally, not even crypto, right? So like, I mean, you had the COVID crash, you generally had everything going nuts. You had Nvidia going to infinity. We had like a GME. We had like the market's just generally really crazy. So like I think it's not really unheard of to get crazy moves on crypto. I think this might be the last one. Like the next bear market is going to be the last one that draws down significantly. And I mean, as you can see, like as you could see earlier from what I drew on the chart, where it's like first it's like almost 90% drawdown, then it's 80, then it's 70. Like a 60% drawdown wouldn't be really that crazy anymore. And then the next one is 50, and then at some point you just get like fucking boring. These drawdowns are massive opportunities, which is why the crypto market is so nice. And if you don't get them anymore, the market changes for traders, at least to the worse. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I need to reclaim the middle of the range. Until then, it's kind of like in no man's land until it touches the range low. And a little bit dependent on the daily time frame. And that one's been whatever the fuck this is. Like that's been that's been interesting. We had no bodies at all on the last on like 4 candles in this consolidation. Then we started moving, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger movements every day, which is like, this is really, really odd price behavior. Like you have small candles, you get like a slightly bigger one, you get an even bigger one, and then you get an even bigger one. And now today, the day's barely started, and we've already like are back down at like 96.2. Which is a price level we've been trading at for the last week or so. But just generally, like, just look at the bodies of these candles. Like, it's so odd. Like, no body at all, and then they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Gonna lead to a breakout soonish, I think. But yeah, so far, holding daily support down here. This is resistance. We tested it once, got rejected, and that's it. Generally speaking, I think the moment you get back above this whole area, like this area here that I drew in, it's clearly bullish. Like so above 101. As long as we're trading below there, I think it's leaning more bearish than bullish on the low time frames. So we have like on the weekly, we have we're kind of chilling at resistance, and on the daily time frame, we have like a more bearish than bullish setup. It's just the high time frames are really good, and generally like that mid range, there's not really that much room to the bottom of the range because this range is so tight, right? So like if you start being bearish now, you have like 3, 4, 5% to the range low, and then that's kind of it. And the range low, same kind of level on the daily time frame, would be 90K. What do you think of quantum computing as the new crypto investment once it gets boring? It's been a thought I had the other day. I mean, there's a lot of places where like it's really interesting. Like you have AI is really interesting, obviously, but really hard to invest in. You have like so many cutting edge technologies coming out, but like all of them are very, very hard to invest in. Like that's the cool part about crypto. I mean, it's really easy to invest in anything that is in crypto. The problem is that there's nothing good in crypto. But the way you can invest is absolutely great. And then you have like the traditional world where like if you want to invest in AI, you don't really have any choices. It's either like super high valuations or it's scams, nothing in between. Is the German language hard to learn? Yes, very. There is harder languages, but it's a hard one. Would you take a position at range bottom? No, I have my positions. I'm just chilling. I have ETH, which really has not been doing so well. I'm even down on it, and I have XRP, which I've been doing really well in, but it's not really been doing much. And like I dabble in other shit, but I'm not like what I do in crypto is, and I don't know how you guys handle it, but for me, like when I pull money out of the market, I don't put it back in. So Like if I sell, like it moves up and I bought 16K and I sell a bunch at 30, and I pull it out, I don't pull it back in, right? So like for me, crypto is like sort of an ATM machine wherever like I only ever take out. So I don't necessarily like I could rotate stuff, but I don't really feel like it. But I don't necessarily put more money in. Never done that. Like I started with $50 and then I put in like another 200, I think. Back in 2014, I put in my first 50. And then in 2017, I put another 200, and I've only been withdrawing money ever since. So that's kind of how I've been going about it. So like it's like when I'm like, oh, like I want to buy more, like I would either have to do it on leverage, which I don't really feel like doing right now. If it gets completely crazy, I might add leverage, but spot wise, I'm good. Don't really need to do much more. Don, you didn't pull the trigger on Litecoin and it ran. Can we look at it? Yeah, we'll look at it. I like it. I've been wanting to buy it since 100, but I've been a little bit lazy. And now it's at 120. Still quite okay price wise. One of the altcoins I like the best right now. But yeah, Bitcoin, like on the daily, like it's sitting at support. It's sitting very close to resistance. The candles are getting larger and larger, so breakout is coming. I hope that it's just gonna go to the upside. I don't necessarily like the range low retest. I do understand TA wise, like we lost the midpoint. It kind of makes sense to go to the low of the range. And here we retested this area and we got rejected, so it kind of makes sense to test the low of the range. But I personally, like I think it'd be much nicer if it just went up. But yeah, we'll see. TA wise, I would say like range low test makes more sense. My gut feeling is we're just gonna hold the support and go up, but I could be very wrong. Right now, it's like I think right now, just saying like I don't know is very valid because it's very hard to like guess where this is gonna go. I think above 100K it becomes very obvious, and then if it just craters, then at some point it starts getting obvious too, but not yet. How is Cred doing? Don't see many tweets or streams of him. He's just very busy. But as far as I know, he's doing all right. It's crazy. $250 got you here. Insane, actually. Yeah, I mean, got lucky a couple times. Had some skill some other times, and that's been enough. Will soul shitters eventually get banned? No, but eventually people are gonna be like learning their lessons and stop. You're a long-time Link hater, but it's performed okay overall. Less volatility, but it makes lots of solo pushes. I'm not a Link hater. I was making fun of the Link. Do I have it in my list? I do. I was making like I was shit talking Link because of its price action, not because of what it is. Like I was actually saying there's nice setups in here. I was just like, the reason why people think I'm a Link hater is because we had this run up during the bear market basically, and then the Link people were just like, yeah, Link is just gonna like flip whatever. Link's gonna flip ETH. Link's gonna go to infinity. And I was like, nah, man. We've seen this story before, and then we did get the nuke, like 90%, 92% drawdown. I've not been hating on Link in comparison to other altcoins. It's been doing all right, yeah. I just didn't like I don't like delusion basically. I don't like when people make crazy claims, and the reason why is because it baits people into buying this shit at the top that just don't know better. And I don't like that necessarily. Obviously, someone's gonna buy the top, but if I see someone like just say some dumb shit just to pump their backs, or because they're so delusional because their back's gone up a bunch, then I tend to kind of like shit talk it. Just how it goes. Anyway, That's Bitcoin. Like I said, struggling. TA wise, makes sense to go to range low. My gut feeling is not going to, but not entirely sure right now. On ETH, this kind of looks not good. Not gonna lie, like just straight up TA wise, this is not good. We lost the prior range. We had the range here. We had a false breakdown. You don't necessarily want to retest these false breakdowns. Like this is the setup. And then you want to see this. And if it goes back down, that's another sign of weakness. Because technically this is a sign of weakness. And then people pile in to be bearish this, right? They start being really bearish. And then you come back up and all these people that were bearish are trapped. All these people don't have a position anymore. And then you can push higher, right? But technically speaking, it's a sign of weakness. And if you come back down here again, that's just kind of confirms the weakness you had in the first place. So this is not great. The fact that we're kind of back here, lost the range again. Now you need to reclaim 2.9K again, which is not great. It's still somewhat in the triangle, depending on how you draw it. Like if you draw it like this, it's not anymore. So like there's a couple ways to draw a triangle. This is why diagonals kind of suck. Like you can draw all of these three, and in two of them it's at resistance and one of them it's at support. That's why I don't necessarily like them too much. But just generally, like that could look much better. It's kind of reliant on Bitcoin breaking out, which is not the best. But generally, altcoins have been awful. So this is not too surprising, just because just had no altcoin bids whatsoever. But yeah, struggling. Now, if you go on the monthly, we still have 15 days to kind of fix this. So like 2 weeks. I'll remove all of these. Diagonal doesn't really matter here. This one can go as well. We have like 2 weeks to close above green, and then it'd be a nice setup. Like if we close above the monthly range low here at 3K, then you have kind of like a false breakdown at just higher time frame. And basically what this was like you had like a retest, and then you had a like that establishes the range, the old range here, and then you retested 3K at like 2.6K and closed back above 3K, and that actually starts looking quite good. That's the last copium I have for ETH, TA wise. So if we have like nice price action going into the monthly close, close above 3K, then maybe I'll actually add some leverage and actually start whipping out some trades on this. Until then, it just doesn't look that great on ETH. Could be much better. ETH BTC had like a little bit of a washout, went all the way to monthly support, but just generally like this could be much better. ETH back to 800 USD. That'd be unfortunate. How are you looking to manage your positions when a new baby comes, sir? I mean, there's a reason why I've just been continuously taking profit, because I don't want to manage shit. This is the first cycle. So every other cycle, for the people that are not aware, every other cycle I just sold near the top. Like that's been quite like I've been quite accurate on that. This cycle I decided that I was just going to take profit along the way, because I am in a different situation now. I don't want to necessarily just be on edge all the time. So this cycle I'm just taking continuous profit, no matter whether, like when the market goes up I take profit. If it goes down enough I might buy a little bit more, but that's basically it, which makes managing positions really easy, because like it's basically like, okay, if the market goes to zero, what I have left in it goes to zero, that's fine. And if the market goes up, I keep making more and more money. But it's not the way to make the most out of the cycle. It's just to capture the cycle if it goes up, and to have some downside protection if it doesn't. When do you buy Altcoin, Don? And I will not. I will not. But yeah, so ETH's struggling big time. I'm really curious how the ETH USD monthly close is going to look like. If it's actually going to reclaim 3K, I think that's a really nice setup. Basically, that would mean in the next 2 weeks we bounce significantly here, have 2 green candles here, go back up here. And I think at that point, it's worth another stab on leverage. I'm just chilling right now. See how that monthly closes. Altcoin is the coin of the cycle. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I mean, you can play it. I'm not really a meme coin kind of guy. If ETH goes up, like on the monthly, someone asked, like, where do you think it's going to go? Yeah, I think it's going to make new all-time highs at that point, 6, 7K. Generally, with ETH, and there's something that I've said on the show quite a bit, is like, I was talking about when we were trading down here, right, at 3K, I was like, if you really, like, if you just want to be cautious, just wait until it's back above, like, the highs here at 3.6, 3.7. That's going to be a breakout trade that you can actually take, just because this range high has been tested infinite times. I think there's not going to be another test that manages to hold it, right? So 4K, I think, is fake resistance. You get anywhere close, you're going to break through. And I was like, this is the trade setup. Like, you just smash it into 3.6. Now we broke down, and I think you can just kind of lower this. And basically, like, we come back above 3.3. You can take that breakout trade, because then I think it's going to do something like this and then just go. Until then, like, ETH's just been a little bitch. But I think that's going to change at some point. It's just people are starting to doubt that that's ever going to happen, which is usually a good sign. But it's either a really good sign, like 9 out of 10 times, or it's a really bad sign and everything is going to zero. Wait, is today Wednesday? Yeah, it is. Of course it is. Hey, Don, can you check Litecoin, please? Yeah, everyone's asking what Litecoin. We'll do XRP and then we'll do Litecoin. So XRP is actually at resistance. So TA wise, like, if you wanna be bear tharded, you can. This is at resistance. Broke back in the old range. This is the old range. On the daily, it basically, like, I mean, it wiped everything, came back into the old range. There's something we talked about, like, if it loses this green range, closes below, it's probably gonna go into the lower range. Closed below, 2 days later, it just completely nuked. Now we're back in the old range, basically. And it's like resistance here, support here, and then, I mean, if it comes back up, same story as like that I said on ETH, where it had this kind of range, right? Where it did this and then broke down, came up and broke back down again. I was like, this is not great. This is not what you want to see. Obviously, the opposite works as well. So like, this is what you don't want to see if you're bullish. And then if you have a range, it breaks out, comes back into the range, and then comes back out of it again. Like, that's, if you're bear, that's where you really don't want to be, because then it's more likely to break out. This is more likely to break down. Obviously not guaranteed, but this is kind of how I look at these range setups. Like, when you get these breakouts, like, this is a false breakout now, basically. And if you get anywhere close back to it, and start invalidating it, it gets it morphs into a really bullish setup. But right now, it's not the most bullish setup. Compared to other altcoins, this is doing excellent. Pretty much any other altcoin, really. It's just altcoins generally have been awful. So when you look at Bitcoin, that looks okay. You look at altcoins, and I've just looked at the best ones. Like, you go and look at any, like, look at the memes, basically with Popcat, Pepe, like, all of those basically just went to almost near zero. Where's with? Yeah, here. Like, all of those went to near zero. Dogecoin as well went down a lot. The bigger the market cap, the less the drawdown. That's kind of been pretty universally true. So Dogecoin down 47%. And then we have Pepe, where is it? it's a little bit smaller, down 60%, and then we have Popcat was down 92%, and then you have like a little bit of a bigger coin, which is Whiff, which went down 88%, right? So basically, all in all, it's just kind of been like the smaller your coin, the more severe the nukage. Quite brutal. Can you please check sold on? I mean, that's support, but struggling. That's gonna be an interesting, interesting monthly close, dude. Are we just gonna chop this level over and over and over again? So like bullish close would be 210. We have a bunch of monthly setups now forming, like on ETH, on Sol, on. I wonder if there's one on XRP. I haven't even checked. I mean, XRP is so bullish. There's no monthly setup there. It just looks hilariously bullish on the monthly. Problem with XRP on the monthly is that it's always like it looks like it's gonna go to infinity and there's no pullback, and then at some point it pulls back, but then it's over. But this just looks hilarious. Let's look at another longer term chart for that real quick. Yeah, I mean that looks so stupidly bullish, but it's also XRP, so everyone's deathly afraid to be in this. Like the moment they see a red candle, they're like, okay, fuck, I don't want to be in this. And they don't ever think about, well, what if? They always think about, oh shit. And it's understandable. I mean, the XRP people are dumping on your ass non-stop in this, and then retail just buys infinite amounts of it. And then it kind of depends on who wins out on that. But yeah, Sol also like a monthly setup if it closes above 210. So if you get a little bit of bullish action going in the next 2 weeks, the market starts looking really good, really fast. If you don't, like failed bullish setups are technically bearish setups. So gonna be an interesting 2 weeks. And then on the weekly time frame, like we are back at the breakout level. You don't really want to turn that into resistance. Like this is why like this plays quite well into the monthly. So basically you are at the last line of defense. If this breaks, it starts looking really shit really fast. And then like let's say you go back down here, turn that into resistance, that would invalidate the monthly setup, kind of turn this whole area into just chop garbage. And then there's not really much on the higher time frames anymore. Whereas if you just go up here for a little bit, you turn this into support still, and then you can have like a really nice move. So like it does hinge a little bit on how the next 2 weeks are going. And then on the daily time frame, because you mentioned it, yeah, that's not the greatest. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, these are high time frame levels. Okay, I don't even look at the daily. Look, these are weekly levels. Yeah, I mean, that just looks choppy. I think if you want to watch the chart, watch the weekly. That's more interesting than the daily. So if you wanted to long Sol, you would wait for a reclaim of 210. So there's multiple ways to go about it. Like if you're giga Sol bull, right, you can just buy because we're at support. But then you take the risk of just literally like buying and then it just like this falling through. I think even if it falls through, you probably get a retest to get back out of it. But yeah, so if you're Sol bull, like this is support, so you could just buy it. If you are a cautious Sol bull, then yeah, you would want to wait for 210, like a monthly close above 210, and then you take any kind of bullish setup that you get on the lower time frames. And then yeah, so it depends on how bullish you are and how much conviction you have. Most people don't have any conviction and change their mind every other day, depending on the daily candle, whether it's red or green. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Like if I'm really, really bullish, I'm going to take any excuse to buy. If I'm mildly bullish, I'm going to need a better setup. And if I'm like barely bullish, I need to have a godlike setup. That's just how it goes. And anyone that tells you, yeah, you only like, you get a setup and you just like always play it, I think that's a little bit wrong way to look at it. There's a lot of discretion in trading. And that's what makes you like gives you edge, your discretion, not necessarily like playing the same setup over and over and over again. You need to be able to say like, hey, we are in the right circumstances for this setup to work. Not, okay, this is the setup, I'm blindly playing the setup over and over and over again. That can work if you find something that actually like has some edge inbuilt, but most don't. And then the discretion is your edge. But yeah. How would an ETH bull play now? I mean, if you're bullish on ETH, right, you could argue that, hey, we're basically, this is the last diagonal that you can draw that has this as support. So we are at support right now on that. Same story as the Sol, we are at the support right now. The problem with like that right now is, where's your invalidation, right? Kind of has to be very, very far away, which is a little bit tough. So like the cautious ETH bull that just waits for a monthly close above 3K and then just buys into any setup on the low time frames. The aggressive ETH bull just is happy that it's back at the diagonal and just doesn't really care that like if this invalidates you, it might just go back to 2K or whatever before you get like a proper invalidation, because a clear invalidation would be a candle close like this, right? That would invalidate the diagonal, and then the setup that you chose would be wrong. Doesn't mean it cannot go up. Like this is what a lot of people get wrong. They're like, okay, this diagonal is broken, we can never go up again. It can literally just start walking up afterwards, having faked out everyone and just starts walking up. But the setup that you're trading is wrong. And then if the setup is wrong, you don't really have a good reason to be in the trade. That's why like the big difference between investing and trading, right? Like if your setup is wrong, in trading you get out. If you're investing and it goes lower, you want to buy more, if anything, because you're like, this is cheaper now than it was before. But yeah, basically that you would have to like argue, hey, we're at weekly support still at the diagonal. If you lose it, that's the setup broken. And I think the cautious bull would want to wait for 3K plus. I think that's the more valid trade on this one, especially given you just lose out on 13, 14, 15%. And the upside would be much larger than that. Hi Don, so early, unexpected. Yeah, I skipped out yesterday, so thought I'd run it today. But yeah, that's that. The altcoins generally across the board kind of look like shit. Someone asked for Litecoin as one of the altcoins that doesn't look like shit. That's kind of turning up on the monthly. Not really that interesting on its own, but that's like, look, historically speaking, something like this is very, very rare that you get like outperformance from Litecoin like 4 months in a row. Like look when the last time that happened was like, so 1 candle green, 2 candles green, 1 candle. Like you have these like spikes, but you don't have this kind of rounding out ever, really. Like that's just not what Litecoin does. Besides here on this complacency shoulder, which was in a completely different market setting, right? So people are excited about it, and I mean, I get it. Barely anyone talks about it. The reason why this is outperforming is because it's gonna get like an ETF. It's one of the ones that has the highest likelihood of getting an ETF quite soon, and people are basically betting on the fact that the boomers are gonna see this and they're gonna be like, Litecoin, like Bitcoin is so expensive, Litecoin is so cheap, and they've heard Litecoin. Like Litecoin's been around for 10 years, so like that's kind of like a name that people kind of know. When you see news stations report on crypto, they mention Bitcoin, they mention ETH, they mention Litecoin, not realizing that the market has significantly shifted. It's just how they do it. Like they have like this little bar with Bitcoin prices, ETH prices, Litecoin prices. So if you get an ETF on this thing, and then they see like a good number, like plus 20% or plus 30% on Litecoin, Bitcoin's up like 2%. That's kind of the speculation I think that a lot of people are making, and I think it's not the worst, especially with how no one really gives a fuck in crypto about Litecoin anymore. I think it's under-owned for the potential of that kind of playing out. So yeah, that's why it's been outperforming on the weekly time frame, on the monthly time frame. like one of the few coins that's actually going up against Bitcoin, at least recently, right? Now, setup wise, there's really not that much besides this ascending triangle. Like that's been holding quite well. We had like, it's a big consolidation since 2018, 17, 18. False breakout below, retest, and now it's kind of still in it. We've seen how this can go, like with ETH. There's also really long consolidation, less long than on Litecoin, but still, they don't always have to play out immediately or at all. But I think that's the only kind of setup that is really there. Let's look without the lines. You can make an argument for like horizontals here too, obviously, like a bunch of like something like this, 100 being support. And if we lose that, maybe that's an invalidation. But just generally, this is just an ETF play, right? Doesn't really matter about, like, the chart setup doesn't really matter that much. It's an ETF play. And I think it's not the worst. I think, if anything, like most altcoin plays that I look at kind of look like shit in comparison to what this is. But it is still Litecoin. So how's your whiff trade going? I mean, it's not really a trade. I bought some so I can make fun of people if it goes up. Like, I shit talked this the entire way down, and I was like, let me hedge some in case of, like, I shit talked this so long. If it goes up now, people are gonna shit talk me back, so I'm gonna buy a tiny bit so I can shit talk if it bounces and still shit talk if it goes up down. So far, that's not really, like, I think it's down like what, like 40% or something, which is fine by me. Don't really mind. This is a hedge against getting bullied by the whiff people, because they blame me for putting in the top. So I was like, might as well. I'm new to crypto. Which coin should I start with? Bitcoin. Start with Bitcoin. Try some ETH maybe. Definitely don't go in the Solana trenches. I think that's one of the worst things you can do. Not necessarily because of the possible gains or losses, but just because there's like gambling is, like, this kind of shit is promoted on those. Like, if you're new, just try shit out. Try how the blockchain works. Understand like why and how, and just try around. I think that's generally like what people should be doing, more so than trading. Unless you're really good at trading, then you should be trading. But so, yeah. I don't think there's really much more to talk about. Like, Litecoin is one of the coins that looks good. XRP still, to me, looks quite good. Larger time frame. Bitcoin looks good. ETH is in the ropes right now. Solana has like a setup into the monthly. Like, both Solana and ETH are kind of like on the ropes. You want to see both of them move into, like, up into the monthly close. If that doesn't happen, they start looking quite bad. Like I said, Bitcoin TA wise would make sense to test the range low. And yeah, everything else just looks garbage. Like AVAX, like, what the fuck's that chart? Like, I can go through all of these kind of. BNB is one of the ones that I actually like. We talked about this like 2 weeks ago. I think that's another one that's really interesting. You have like the prior range here, and you retested it. Like, you broke out. We had like this wipe, but that's just not gonna close below that range high, I think, and looks quite good. I could see that have a good leg. If I had to take new positions right now, I'd be taking BNB and Litecoin. Those are the two ones that I like the best. Hype doesn't look bad, yeah, but I mean, don't really, like, it's not something that I necessarily care about too much. I mean, Hype, I'm not hating. Chart wise, probably good. I haven't looked at it in a while. Don't really care. Yeah, it actually doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just super choppy. But in comparison to a lot of other things, that's a good chart. Like every other altcoin is like literally like 80% down like this, and this is holding. Like could see that make like just from this like make new highs. Like you see that the lows are getting kind of like going higher. The highs are still pushing here. And then the relative strength against the altcoins. I mean, that's not a bad chart. It's not something I would necessarily trade, but like I would not want to be bearish this. So there you go. I think that's enough for today. Thanks for coming by that early in the morning. I appreciate your support. Also appreciate the support of Woo for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description. Check them out. And yeah, like I said, they are pushing on their decentralized exchange, which I find quite cool. We need more of those. Like Hype, also great decentralized exchange. So yeah, that's a good note to end up on. Yeah, thanks for coming by. See you guys next time. Bye bye.